Плюс, когда надо вставать.
Да, нас не видно.
За что ты так со мной?
Подвиньтесь.
Окей, ты сам вот
Today we have an education export seminar, and our keynote speaker is going to be our ex-Rovia Angry Birds creator, Vesterbacka. And we have a lot of amazing guests, panel members here. Education, education export company from Tampere Region, from city of Tampere, from Tredur, Finnish Parliament, and of course our great students. And here's our moderators for today, Saure. Yes. So you're warmly welcome. In case you cannot attend this seminar, remember to follow us, like us, and follow the stream around. See you soon.
See you.
There's enough room here in the front, so please come on and take the best places. So, my name is Kirsi Vuonala, and I'm the team leader here for our business management and tourism teachers, and also kind of representative for this Discover Your Talent team. And this is our third Discover Your Talent event. And you are all really welcome here, and all our guests who are watching us. This event is streamed online, so hi, welcome. So everyone, please remember to follow us so you stay tuned and you know what's going on in the future too. So, but I think I leave now the microphone to our moderators, Santtu and Saure. Saure is our second year student, and Santtu is our first year student, and they have done a really, really great job. Done a lot of different kind of projects and have great ideas, and it's kind of that we give them the courage to follow their dreams and have a bit of their cut to do things and go forward. And we don't know what's going on in the 5 years when you really hit the road and follow your dreams. So please, Santtu and
Thank you, Kirsi, for this wonderful introduction. Today we're going to be talking about some interesting, and we're going to have some informative discussions with some really influential people that are present here with us today.
Yes, hi everyone again, welcome. And our first guest, Municipal Secretary and Social Scientist from City of Tampere, Megan Nurminen, please welcome.
Should I stand here? Yes. Okay. So, hi everyone. I'm Maggie Nurminen from the City of Tampere again. I work in the International Affairs Department, and I'm responsible for coordinating the education export business on our side. Well, actually, it's mostly supporting and coordinating. First of all, I would like to congratulate all of you on making your way to this exciting event. I would also like to thank the organizers for putting together this forum to share experiences on education export, a promising and new area of business. I'm very proud to give this opening speech here in Tredu, mostly because I'm really proud of what we've accomplished so far as a city and as a region in education export. And actually, all of it is done together. So I think in Tampere our strength is definitely our close relations to each other, and also the close ties between the different players, were they private companies, education institutions, or other organizations. I think it's pretty fair to say that we're gathered here today mostly because Finland is a pretty awesome country to live in. As all of you know, just recently Finland was once again ranked as the #1 happiest country on the planet. I think there are many reasons for this success, but I think one of the most important reasons is education and our excellent education system. It's actually brought us quite a bit of fame so far, and hopefully it will bring us some fortune in the future. Moving on, I think we can all agree that Tampere is a great place to live in as well, as it's been voted the most attractive city to live in Finland. And that's also again and again, year after year. Again, I think one of the main reasons for this is that Tampere has such a great and diverse and excellent education system. We have a variety of different kinds of options, even from kindergarten up to the university. And so we have excellent quality education for all. Also, I do want to mention Tredu. They're doing really excellent and groundbreaking work in the field of vocational education. So it's not only higher education or only kindergarten, but also vocational. Well, this actually explains why Tampere is constantly growing and offering more and more opportunities for different people. It's solidifying its place as one of the most vibrant cities in the Nordics. It's really important for us to support this growth and all of the opportunities the growth brings. But growth requires action and skills to succeed in this global era. That's why we believe both education and internationalization are key to our success. We need to push for more international business and export initiatives. And my personal opinion is that we can't achieve this by sticking to our old habits. We need to find new ways to do business and to bring innovations to the table. The winners of tomorrow are ranked by talent and intelligence, not material wealth, size, or even the best technological hardware. That's why the growth and success of our city requires international talents too. We can't achieve these goals by ourselves, but we need more young international talents to grow with us. I totally agree with Mr. Vesterbacka on this matter. And actually, the brilliance of education export as a business area is that it combines all of these things. It promotes international business, global exposure, growth, education excellence, and talent attraction. We still have loads of work to do, but together we can realize the huge potential we have in education export ahead of us. So, thank you again for listening and joining us here. I welcome all of you to enjoy this event, and I also welcome all of you to work together to achieve these common goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie, for that wonderful speech. The education export topic in general is very important. So our next speakers are going to be students, and they're going to speak about why they think education export is important.
Yeah, so please welcome our
Next
students. So they're going to be ambassadors of Student Voice, and I would like to, before your speeches, ask you, guys, why did you choose Finland as a country and this college, and also your opinion about exporting Finnish education in your home country, since you're foreigners? So please.
Well, I honestly couldn't change my plans to moving here, as my dad is Finnish and my mom is Indonesian, and he works here, so we can't really do anything about that. And why I chose Tredu was because I was really interested in the business field, and in the future I would like to work in the business field.
Thank you, Nico.
Thank you.
How to export? Oh, how would I export to my home country, Indonesia, is by increasing the teachers' quality in general, and giving out more education to the to other people apart from the people who have money, and not wake up at 5 o'clock to go to school, as they started really early at 7. And yeah, less homework would be great for them too, as they have a lot of homework apart from where I am right now. So yeah, just give out more opportunities to the students.
Okay, hi, my name is Alisa and I'm coming from Russia. There was never a question where I'm going to study after a Russian comprehensive school, because that's not a secret that Finnish system of education is like one of the best in the world. And likely I got to know about Tredu and that they're having English programs here, and that it was business and administration. It's so interesting as my family are entrepreneurs. And I think that one of the most working ways how to export Finnish system of education to Russia is conducting universities and trying to embed some courses that are holding according to the Finnish standards. It would be so amazing because there are so many students, talented students in Russia that are really willing to study business or just study in another language like English and to get international diploma, but unfortunately they're not able to come here. Some financial problems or just family's decision, and it's really sad. I'm really lucky that I got a chance to come here, and I would really love to be ambassador of Finland, Finnish education, to represent it in my own home country and in my hometown.
Thank you.
Right, so I'm Nicolau, everyone calls me Nick. So I'm Spanish. I moved here when I was 13. And I moved here because, well, I moved here with my mom. So I'm glad we moved here actually, because the schooling system is just like such different than Spain. It's much better in like many aspects. I could say, for example, like there's some things like in Spain, like classes are ranked A to E. So if you're in the E, like worst student, so everyone is looked upon like, oh, if you're in the E, you're worse. But in Finland, it's like A to E or more. Everyone is equal. Everyone is like studying the same like ability. No one is better than everyone else. No one is worse than everyone else. That's why that's fantastic, in my opinion. So, and I chose Tredu because when I looked at different schools, I looked at different places, I realized Tredu is probably what I thought it was going to be the best one, and indeed it was the best one I could choose. And when I came to this course, I realized I made like the best decision in my life because I got so many friends, I got so much information about studying and everything that I really like. I can see in the future what I will be doing thanks to like how Tredu's helped me. I think that's about it for everything.
Okay, so I'm Santu. I'm half Finnish, half Kenyan, and I have lived the past 8 years, or no, 6 or 7 years in Kenya. And I moved from Kenya to Finland for the education because I just felt like over there's not much practical work you can do. It's mainly just theoretical, and you get no experience in the field. So when you come here and you get into Tredu, you have so many opportunities with these on-the-job learning things that the school, or like an internship that the school provides you with, and that helps you really learn about business more. And I think that, well, there's not many as many privileged people back in Kenya. Like, there's a lot of poor people, and it would be very nice to really just give them a chance to, or opportunity to learn business, because there's really hardworking people over there that would love the opportunity to actually have work experience or just learn business in general. So if there was any way, if there would be any way to sort of embed or integrate the Finnish curriculum or Tredu or anything to do with that into the Kenyan like curriculum or school thing, it would be wonderful. Yeah, and that's just my opinion. Yeah.
And I would like to add that since we're like really multicultural class and these English programs, there are so many students who could give really good ideas how to export Finnish education system to their home countries and actually make some steps for the future. So thank you very much, guys. They were really good ideas, so we would like to continue with our special guest, keynote speaker Vesterbacka. We're really glad to see you here, so please welcome on our stage.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's like fantastic. So really great to see so many students from all over the planet already here. But I think that we can do much better. So I think that if you look at the numbers in Finland, yeah, we're not doing a fantastic job attracting many more students. I don't think that it's actually, of course, it's never about the numbers, but I think that it's important that we work on making it kind of like the obvious choice that if you want to get fantastic education, that when you wake up in the morning, you know, it might be in Delhi or in Beijing or in, Astana or like anywhere in the world, that you basically think about Finland. And right now we don't have that kind of situation. But also very happy to hear kind of like many of the reasons like why this is a fantastic place to study. So not talking about Tampere, but also talking about Finland more broadly. And I've been working on kind of like education already when I was at Rovio. So we started really looking at how kind of like learning works and how education works all over the planet. And I always have to say that I have kind of like no formal background in education myself, so not a pedagogue or anything like by trade, but of course I have two kids who go to school in Finland. I've been to, of course, through the Finnish system myself, like some years ago. But what was very interesting for me, if we start with again. The fact that we talk about, and kind of like everybody here knows that we have the best schools, we have the best education in Finland. But then we didn't actually know about that until they started to do some studies. There were like PISA tests and all that, and it came like as a massive surprise to everybody in Finland that we have the best schools in the world. That how can that be? And then of course in typical Finnish fashion, many people start saying, "Oh, it can't be true. That there must be something wrong," because Finnish people are like that. So we never humble, but I would also say humble to a fault. That we are kind of like almost, I would say, too humble, too modest. Even when we are the best, and it's always that but can it really be true? And like the latest one, of course, that we are now the happiest nation on the planet. And then immediately people were that, oh, it can't be true. And then what and I also got that from my Estonian friends when I was in Tallinn, that they were telling me that it can't be true, that you Finnish people can't be the happiest. I said that, what happiest means is that we are just happier than the others. It doesn't mean perfect or even good. This is, again, we should always keep in mind that there's always room to improve. And of course, the Finnish society is like far from perfect, and there are many things that we can be proud of, but we can never be, satisfied. We can't be content with like the status quo. We can do better. But then, for me, one very like concrete and hands-on like experience was that my son, who is now 15, when he started school. At the same time, I have a good friend in Singapore, Emily. And her daughter, same age, started school at like same time, more or less. And then you know how it is when you meet your friends. And then of course, our age starts talking about the kids and like what's going on and starting school and like all of that. And then you immediately realize that totally different experience. So my son, and even now goes to school, 9 or 10 in the morning, gets home early afternoon, and what happens after school? He goes out and plays. Or he plays on the computer or whatever. But the important thing is that he then does whatever, and then maybe like when he gets home in the evening, he does 15 minutes of homework, and it's like done. Okay, then I looked at like the experience of Emily's daughter. School day starts at like 6 a.m. and then the first day of school, there's like 50 or 60 things that don't do this, don't do this, do this, do this. So you're basically told what to do and what not to do. And then also if you look at the experience that, it's a super long school day, even like very early, the early years. And after the school day is done, then there's typically some extra, tutoring and extra curricular activities that are all about school. And then after that, you have homework. And I don't know the numbers from Singapore, but China numbers, I happen to know that average high school kid in China has 4 hours of homework every day for Finnish people, you would ask that, oh, 4 hours a week, that's not too bad. But it's like 4 hours a day. And then you immediately ask that, okay, so if you have that kind of day, when do you have time for like life? And then the answer is that actually you don't really have too much time. So it's like school, school, school. And I still remember I had afternoon tea in Beijing with the president of the Beijing Media University, and this like many years ago. And they were just like, you know, talking about this and that, and then he had talking about the kids. And then he said that his wife is very concerned. Why? Because of their 12-year-old son. He plays basketball. And of course the point was that he should focus on school and not on like this basketball thing, because that's like away from school and super bad. And then, I mean, if you look at Finnish parents, all super happy, oh, he plays football or basketball or, you know, any sports, fantastic, and you should do more. So then, you know, you start getting the picture that it's so focused on school and it's so competitive that you end up with this kind of model where there isn't anything else. And then, again, you know, just to pick on Singapore a little bit more, because they're also very high in the rankings if you look at like the basic education. So they achieve great results with these massively long school days, massive amounts of homework. In fact, there's so much homework in Singapore that in many cases the teachers call the parents and say that, oh, your son, your daughter, you know, didn't complete the homework, which has led to parents doing the homework on behalf of the kids. And then you're like, okay, so what's the point? And then it's, oh, Peter, you have to understand it's very competitive. They have to get to the next level, to the best university, so we have to do this. And it has gotten even so crazy that some of the parents go to school in the weekend so that they can do the homework on behalf of their kids during the week. And here we laugh, but it's reality. It's like super bad. But yeah, you get great results on paper, but another thing that it leads to is that you are actually just learning for the tests. You're not learning for life. I did an interview with there's a lady from BBC in Singapore as well, and then we're talking about physics, and there's like a game that we're working on that area. And then after the interview, she said that she loves physics, and it would have been great if the teachers at school would have told her that physics is about the real world, that it actually, you know, has something to do with that. And I mean, this is, you know, like pretty sad, because then if you study like for, you know, just for tests and you don't even understand that physics has something to do with the real world, it's pretty bad and actually sad. But what is then really sad about this crazy focus on just school and kind of like no life is that you create crazy academic pressure. And it's so bad that if you take Singapore, I don't have the stats for last year, but in 2017, the number of suicides in 12 to 17-year-olds doubled. And in Korea, 25% of high school kids consider suicide because of academic pressure. 25% only, so it's not like even half. Okay, of course it's crazy. But then last year I was in India like many times, and I was there in April. And I learned that actually India has the highest number of teenage suicides anywhere on the planet. And in India in April, they had already had 8,000 teenage suicides because of academic pressure. You know, so fail a test, kill yourself. So not a good thing. And this is actually why, you know, when I decided to leave Rovio in 2016, I said that, okay, I'm going to focus on bigger things, namely education. So the plan is to transform education globally over the next 10 years. And I mean, these are some of the reasons that, I mean, we can't like look at this. Then also, you know, on the topic of India, but I think it's in many places, that then they told me that, okay, in India, okay, they have this massive academic pressure, but then they have, if I remember correctly, 2 million schools. And then I said, okay, that's like obviously a lot, and, you know, huge population. And then, but then they told me, oh, Peter, but actually it's not, you know, like when we were talking about the market, that we don't really need to worry about it too much because only 50,000 are any good. And then I'm like, you know, for a Finnish person, that so you're telling me that you have 2 million schools and only 50,000 are any good. And then I was like, yeah, some of them don't even have teachers. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's like, how can you like even live with this? This is, you know, like really super bad. I mean, again, in Finland, we've grown up that, I mean, we want to offer everybody an opportunity to fantastic education. So then when you hear this, that, oh, you know, like we have, you know, 2 million schools, but you don't really need to care about most of them because, you know, like, who cares? And I mean, there's like real people, real kids going to these schools, so obviously we need to care. Then I actually used example from the US. So I was at this event in Salt Lake City, and we had Arne Duncan, who used to be the Secretary of Education for Obama, and then DeVos, you know, the current in the current regime, the Education Secretary, and they were like on a panel, and then there was also a professor from the University of Arizona, and he had fantastic points related to this, you know, like, okay, we don't need to worry about like most of the people. But he said that in the US, many times people are saying that we have to understand that it's very difficult for many Americans to learn German, you know, so the German language. And then he continued, those guys, those, you know, people, they are very lucky that they weren't born in Germany. Because, I mean, that would be pretty bad if you are born in Germany, you can't learn the language. I mean, super bad. Of course, we all know that, you know, most people in Germany can learn the language. So it's not like impossible. So all human beings can learn German, can learn, you know, like Bahasa Indonesia or Chinese. We have some Chinese here, so I can say that 我在北京北师大学习了8个星期的汉语，但是我的汉语还不完美。So anyway, so I spent 8 weeks at Beijing Normal University learning Chinese because I figured that, you know, you need to learn these things while you're still young, because it might be tough when you're older. But anyway, so side point. But the point with like learning German, that all human beings can learn anything. Like, I mean, if you don't have like some disability or something. So if we then look at the waste, you know, like, oh, we don't need to worry about most of the schools because they're not any good. I mean, for a Finnish person, it's like impossible to live with that. That's like, I mean, it like hurts. And I think that this is something that we can be very proud of in Finland, that we offer everybody, not just a few, fantastic education. And I mean, always when I'm, you know, outside of Finland giving talk about like the Finnish educational system, I always ask that, do you know which school in Finland is the best school? Anybody here? Do you know? Which of all of our schools in Finland, so not 2 million, but a few less, which school is the best one? Anybody know? The nearest school. Because all of our schools are fantastic. So as a parent, you don't need to worry about, do I put my kid in this school or that school? They're all fantastic. So the nearest school is the best school. And I think this is something that's very important. Okay, so then if you look at the basic, you know, that's now not looking at then universities or, you know, like this secondary education. And I think that we can also be very proud of all of our universities or our schools here. Okay, we have one university that's ranked in the top 100, so like University of Helsinki. But of course, you know, we're not, if you look at those rankings, we're not competitive with the MITs and the Harvards and the Stanfords and all that. I think, was it so that MIT or one of these, that they raised like 3 billion, you know, like a year in like support. So we don't have like, that's more than we spend on all of our schools in Finland. So of course we can't compete with like the financials there. But one thing that we can do, and what we should be very proud of, if you look at the universities and, you know, higher education in Finland, we have the best schools if you look at the delta. Input, output, biggest change, biggest delta. We improve the students the most in the world. So that is one area where we are the best. So you might not be, you know, the best student that can make it to Harvard. And, you know, of course, if you have the best input and even if you have like super bad offering, probably the output is okay. So I think that we should be very proud of the fact that we produce fantastic delta. We produce fantastic improvement. So then if you look at our situation today, we are doing a lousy job when it comes to attracting foreign students to Finland. I mean, we have the best product, we have the best, you know, like environment. So it's not just about the studies. And if I ask the students here, I think that you probably would agree that it's not just about, you know, the various classes and all that, but it's about the social life, that you have a life. You can, you know, do other things. It's not just about, you know, sitting in class and doing various tests, but you can actually have a life and you can do what you enjoy doing. And I think this is actually how you learn for life, and you learn life skills and the skills that you will need in life, and not, you know, like sitting in a classroom. So we need to look at that. That's what you need, you know, when you get a job or whatever. You need to be a creative, like problem solver, and that's what we deliver here. So given that we have a pretty good setup, why don't we have more foreign students here in Finland? And I think that's a good question. So first, we need to look at that. And I was actually with Krista Kiuru, so she used to be our Minister of Education. This is probably like 5-6 years ago. We went to Jakarta in Indonesia, and we met with the Minister of Education of Indonesia. And then we, talking about this and that, and then he said that, oh, this sounds like really good. A good number of Indonesian students in Finland would be 10,000. And then we're like, okay, hey, great. And then we left the meeting and we went to the airport, to head back to Finland. We were sitting there in the lounge, and then I told Krista and her, like people from the ministry, that hey, this is fantastic. That the minister said that 10,000 would be like a good start. At that time, I think we had 3 students from Indonesia, like whole country, 3. And Indonesia is not like a small place. It's slightly bigger than Finland, like by a lot. And we had 3. So again, like not fantastic. So then I said, okay, let's like take all 10,000. I mean, that's like a good start. And then I was immediately told, like we can't do that. And I was like, okay, why not? So we can't accept the money. It would have been like 100 million or something like that if you do like 10,000 students, 10,000 a year, or roughly something like that. So then I say, okay, but what if I like take the money and I donate it to the universities? And I say, oh, we're not like typically doing it that way, and like very difficult. And then I say, okay, but like let's see if we can figure it out. And then I was told that a reason we can't do this is that the level of the education will go down if we take too many students. Then I went to talk to Tuula Teeri, who was president of Aalto at the time, and Jukka Kola, who was running University of Helsinki, so are like top 2 universities. And both of them told me that, hey, if you can get more students that pay, for example, 10,000 or whatever a year, we can improve the level of education or the teaching a lot, because we can hire more people and we can have better professors. So it's actually like a very good thing. Then I went back to the ministry and they said that, yeah, it might be, but we don't have the housing. And then I got the point that they actually don't want to see more foreign students for various reasons. So I don't know why. But anyway, that was kind of like the attitudes. Then I went out like public and said, okay, we're going to attract 100,000, because I mean, if Indonesia wants to send us 10,000, it's our kind of like obligation, because we have this fantastic education, to share it with the world. So kind of like, let's do that, and 100,000 would be like a good start. Then I actually was talking about this like quite a bit, but nothing happened, because typically you actually have to do stuff, and was not enough to just like try to get people excited about this. So then I read an article actually like 2 years ago in Aamulehti about Asia Exchange. So Harri and Tuomas had been doing that, getting students to go from the West to Asia. And then I called Harri and said, we need to meet. And then we actually met and said, okay, let's turn this around. We want to actually attract students from outside and not, send everybody somewhere else. So let's, do that. So we started this Edunation activity company. And then we started looking at the market, and we very quickly realized that, again, typical things, we were way too modest. 100,000, of course, was very modest ambition. Looking at Australia, we should have 150,000. So basically, we increased the ambition and started talking about that, okay, we're going to attract 150,000 students to Finland, so that at least we're as good as Australia. And and we should be as good as Australia, because here, if you look at Finland, we have a superior geographic location. I mean, I get on a plane in Helsinki, 6 hours later Delhi, 7 hours later Beijing, 8 hours later Shanghai. So I mean, we're here at the heart of Eurasia. So we have Europe and Asia like right next door. Our home market is 5 billion people, 70% of the world's population. So this is much better, obviously, than what Australia can offer. And Australia, of course, slightly bigger than Finland. But if you look at this tiny little island or like nation called New Zealand, So they're about our size and very far away from like everything. Okay, they make some movies and hobbits live there and stuff, but that's about it. Okay, of course it's a beautiful place, just like Finland, but it's far away, and they actually have education export, and like they have a business there. They generate 3.5 billion every year from students from China, from India, from all over the planet that study in New Zealand. And I think that if you look at geography, of course, our location is far better. I mean, there's the direct flight from Auckland to Beijing is about 15 hours or something like that, so much longer. And you can't even fly direct from Auckland to Delhi. So, I mean, they're like super far away. So we should be able to do what New Zealand is doing. And I mean, also, if you look at Finland, I mean, everybody here speaks English. English you can actually understand, unlike our friends in New Zealand or Australia or UK, where like it's super tough to understand the dialect. So we have like many of these, and of course we have the best education on the planet. So why wouldn't people come here and study? And it's not just like again as I said, it's not the study. It's like the study and living. So you have to have like the whole thing. So yeah, so what we're working on right now is attracting 150,000 foreign students to Finland in the next few years. And I think that a good number for Tampere, which we also have here on the slide, 15,000, is like I think fair share for the Tampere, city. So that's a good ambition for like the next 5 years. And we already heard how fantastic it is to come and live and study here in Tampere. So why don't we make that happen? So yeah, that's what I had on my mind, and I guess we have like a panel discussion next, so we can continue. But yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, just Peter. We're in Finland, come on. Yeah.
Thank you for this amazing speech. You raised very good points, and I agree with all of them.
But that's why you are here as well.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So do you have any questions to Peter or in general? Yes?
A very general question.
Mm-hmm.
What's your main motivation in this?
So,
is there one big reason?
Yeah, I mean, we have to kind of like save the planet. So I think that's kind of like ultimate kind of like reason, I think. But also I think that for like all entrepreneurs, it's always that we want to change the world, and I think that that's also for me. If I look at education, that education is the most powerful tool that we have at our disposal to do that. And if you look at like the India example, that it's just like you can't just look at the situation where we don't need to care about like most of the people. It's like it kind of like too painful not to do anything. And then I think that also when I look at what we have here in Finland, I mean, like we have fantastic education, and we are like the happiest nation for a reason. And I think that we should be kind of like very proud of that. And I think that also that it's our kind of like obligation to share what we have learned and what we have created here. Because I think if you look at what is going on in the world, like US, and like the current regime there, it's the result, and why we have that situation. It's because of ignorance and lack of education. I mean, the US used to have the best education like in the 50s, and after that, not the best. So now we're kind of like all suffering from having to watch, Trump on TV like on a daily basis, and obviously it's not like a good thing. And it's not like the only place where we have that kind of challenge. So I think that, maybe kind of like being a bit naive in thinking that we can actually make the world a much better place. And the way to do that in a sustainable way, or the only way, is actually through education. That there is no like shortcut. We actually have to invest the time, energy, money in making that happen. So that's kind of like, in a big picture, the motivation.
It's always good to give back.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
You say a good target for Tampere Region, 15,000 students in 5 oncoming years.
Yeah, 5 years is like, in 5 years you can do pretty much anything, as our Chinese friends show us with the 5-year plans. So,
yeah. Your personal view, Perhaps you have some inside information. Is it a realistic target? Will it happen?
That's actually, I'm always asked that when I was at Rovio and I said that in 2010 that we're going to have 100 million downloads, I was told that Peter, you're crazy, it's impossible, nobody has done that before. And then we still did that in like the next 15 months. And then now if you look at Rovio and Angry Birds, it's like 4 or is it even like 5 billion already downloads, so 100 million was nothing. Then if you look at, same thing, Slush that I was also involved in starting in 2008 together with a few friends. First Slush in 2008, I told everybody that this is going to be the biggest and best startup event on the planet. And the reaction that, oh, Peter, what about Silicon Valley? And I was like, what about Silicon Valley? And now Slush is the biggest and the best. So I think that you can always ask that is this realistic or not. And I think that the 150,000 is very realistic. And the reason why it's realistic is that we will make it so. Because the thing here is that, of course, we would not have gotten to 100 million downloads of Angry Birds without making it so. Or we wouldn't have gotten Slush to be the biggest and best startup event on the planet without making it. So it didn't happen that, oh, we just sit around and wait and hopefully it will happen. So of course this will require a lot of work and it will require a lot of collaboration from the city, all the schools, also let's say that we are also dependent on the national government. So of course we need to fix the immigration processes. We need to we need to make them more Finnish. So more equal and more egalitarian. So there's a lot of challenges on that side. And I think that we have many good things in Finland, but we also have many not so good things. And I think we need to work on the the ignorance and that piece as well. That we still in some of our ministries have people that have been there forever and they are still living in this let's say old world. And I think that it's very important that our people can go outside and see that it's actually a big world and it's not like Finland is the only place you can live. So it's we are in a situation where we're competing for talent and there are lots of places that can offer good jobs and a good life, and we need to be aware of that fact. So we need to make it very let's say not maybe very easy, but we need to make it very straightforward to come to Finland, study, live, work, all of that. And I think we have a long way to go to be as good as our friends in Australia or New Zealand on that front. So that's something that it's about marketing, of course. It's always about marketing. I think that this is something that, and marketing is it's only about letting people know what you're doing, as simple as that. So I think that is one thing where we still have a bit of work to do. So yeah.
It was from Tampere University, so I'm from China.
Yes.
Talking Chinese.
Yeah, but my Chinese EDR, so but you can of course, but I might not understand everything.
So I have two questions. So the first one is related to the Indonesia case. So when you were talking about the story a few years ago, you have already indicated a few challenges. For example, whether the academics or university leaders may consider the non-student the influence of quality of education, or people's general attitude, whether they want for a student or not. Also, very important issue is the capacity might be simply limited by the accommodation, the available accommodation. So how do you think this kind of challenges you can cope with? Because this is a little bit different compared to your previous experience, because in the Rovio you can basically control the company, the marketing, but when you are importing the student, so you are collaborating with the education institution.
Of course, yeah.
So this is my first question. How you
so let me answer that, then we'll continue. So if you look at Rovio and Angry Birds, guess what? We couldn't control the world. Nobody can control the world, but you can influence and you can impact it. What is very important, I think that many people live in this kind of like they have this illusion that you can actually control things, and the answer is that you can't. I've also been told many times. So I'm also now building like this little tunnel between Helsinki and Tallinn, 15 billion euros, and it's a pretty significant project. And I'm told that, Peter, don't you understand that making a tunnel is very different from like making a hit game? And then I'm actually always saying that actually making this tunnel, yes, it's 15 billion euros. It's much easier than making a hit game. Much, much easier. It's different, but it's much easier. Because one of the most difficult things in the world is to make a hit game. Every day, 700 new games coming out. So then, like your question that isn't this like different? Yes, it's different. Is it more difficult? Not really. I think that it's all about like the attitude about making stuff happen. And if you look at now like the 150,000 students, so it's up to us to make it happen. And of course we need to work together. It's not like, okay, that one person or like one city or one university. It requires a lot of collaboration. And of course it's challenging, but again, it's just a question of time. But I think what is important, and now we have elections coming up here, and same thing in Estonia. So what I always tell people that if we don't know where we are going, we're not going to get there. So we're a little bit in that kind of situation in Finland that if I ask, like the public side, like the government or these guys, that what is our ambition? Let's say, how many foreign students do you want to attract? Nobody knows. If we would have had the same at Rovi and Amber, so how many downloads are you gonna go for, or what is your like goal? And then I would say that, we don't really know. Maybe like 1 million, maybe 10 million. I don't really know. I mean, it's the problem is that you have to have a bit of like ambition, but you have to have leadership. I mean, we're gonna go there, 150,000 done, and that's how we're making it happen. Of course, we could say that we want like a few. So okay, how many? 5? 100? What? So I think that is why I know that we will make this happen. And it's again it's not always easy, but who cares about doing easy things? And it's much more interesting to work on stuff that it's a bit challenging. So this is a bit challenging, but we'll make it happen. And yeah, you asked about accommodation. Yeah, very easy. We build houses. People live in houses. And if you don't have and if you don't have enough houses, you can live in tents, like they were.
So second question would be very short. I fully agree all the merits you and also the other students have already mentioned. So I'm also, I'm also academic, so I'm promoting Finnish education through my research. So there's no doubt about the merits of Finnish education. But when we come to the marketing, especially in terms of attracting fee-paying students, so how do you consider the disadvantage of coming to Finland for study?
So first of all, I mean, like it's dirt cheap to study in Finland. So I have many friends, actually Chinese friends, who are studying in random universities in the US, and they pay 5-6 times more than you would pay here. So I think that it's super affordable. I mean, it's less expensive to study at the best university in Finland than at kindergarten in Beijing. So I mean, we also need to keep that in mind. Our problem is not that we are like too expensive. Our problem is that we are too inexpensive, so we're not even credible. I mean, always in Beijing, I had to understand. I explained that parents ask that, really, what? How can it be cheaper to study in University of Helsinki than putting my kid to kindergarten in Beijing? How is it possible? And that's like it is possible. So I think that that's one thing, that we are very affordable, and we are like price performance is the best. Then I think that also we can offer a safe environment. Let's look at India. India is the fastest growing market. It's approaching the same level as China, so 1 million Chinese students are abroad, 350,000 currently in the US. India is approaching 1 million. At the same time, the number of new Indian students in the US in 2017 went down 26% because of not so inviting environment anymore. they are building walls and like please go away, don't come here, and random shootings every day in the street. That's what you see in the news. So if you were a parent in China or India, do you want to send your kid to the US where they're like shooting people? Or do you come to Finland where we're not shooting people on a daily basis? And we are not even considering arming our teachers, giving them weapons. So this is the crazy world we live in. So I think that we have many, many advantages. And then, in Finland we believe in human rights, we believe in freedom and democracy and all of that stuff, which many people around the world value. So, human rights, I know always we need to be in some quarters like difficult, let's say careful when we discuss that, but I think that in Finland we're very proud that we offer everybody fantastic opportunity, and you can go on and live your life without the government interfering like on a daily basis. Or, yeah.
Okay,
so we win, basically. Yeah.
Yes. So, Sandra, do you
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a panel or break now, right?
We have a break.
Okay, cool.
20-minute break. So.
And you can check our stands with exchange experience and also new English programs. So please enjoy the stands.
Oh, that's coffee. Yeah.
kiva, kun sä lähit tällaiseen.
Keinottelee.
Ai tää on helposti tää on. Joo. En mä niinku hirveän määrä olla.
Lähtää mäkin Keniassa.
Mahtavaa. Mitäs siellä? That's all nyt meni taas pienellä. Onko tää ollut kiva? Mitäs sä tykkäät, Petteri? Mitä on tarkoittaa? Sehän se pointti just
Okay, now if everyone panel members please take a seat and we continue.
Okei, kiva. Mitäs tykkäsit?
Hyvä. Joo, mä olin Hämeenlinnassa kuumassa hankissa tuossa matkalla ja se oli 300 tyyppiä. Tänne ja saimme jatkua ihan jees. Vähän samaa teemaa. Istuisi kyllä tavoitteen Tampereelle.
Okei, hyvä. Näinkö sä katsoit, että sä alkaa tätä tiedä ennakkoon ja sovittiin, että me aamulla sitten?
Joo.
Näinkö sä sen?
Joo. Näinkö sä myös, että Tampereen liitossa voi istuisi?
Joo, katsoin sen.
Okay, so welcome back. Hello everyone, welcome back to our panel discussion which, with our moderator Merja Laaksonen and some of our guests in the student voice.
Yeah, and I would like to introduce our guest, Karita Frokki from Tampere Region. So she represents the universities, Harri Jaskari from the government, Peter Vesterbacka, Nick Cousins, representative of Credo, Harri Suominen from Education, and Meghi Nurminen from City of Tampere, and I will be the student voice representative.
One small question first. Is it okay if I call you by your first names here?
Of course.
Yeah. Thank you.
Let's make the second one.
And then I have somebody here beside me, and Kirsi is going to be very strict with her watch because the time is running. So I guess it's max 1 minute per answer per person, so that everybody's weekend will start in good time. And the very first question would be, what would make Finland #1 in education export in the world? And as I think the students' voices have been heard already today, we will start from Karita here. What will make Finland #1 in education export in the world?
First of all, we already are #1 in education in Finland, in the world, so it's a kind of an easy task. But to maintain everything, I think we have to be very careful resourcing the teacher education. So the key to everything, the key to success is good teachers, the best teachers. And I think we also have to keep the value or respect the value that the teachers are respected. Teachers are your partners, and if we can keep this, it will mean that we can continue with the world-class education. That's very unique in the world.
Thank you, Karita.
I think my previous speaker already said about that we are already #1. But we also, quite many people in the world know about that. But what is the next step? They know that we are maybe #1, but can we actually take that role in real life? So I think that we should go there and we should invite a lot of students in here
and really make decision. That I heard from Peter that you say that you said that it's a 15,000.
15,000 is
it's a target for Tampere, only for Tampere.
Yeah, exactly.
But I totally agree that what made a difference is that we believe our teachers, and we believed our teachers before. We have a very good tradition, and we should keep that tradition. But now more and more people everywhere in the world should actually know that. And we should actually do the marketing and make it real. So that's the point what we should do to really make this, let's say, industry very big also here in Finland.
And I already talked a lot, but I think one thing that I would add, and I think that if you look at, we talked a little bit about slush, and then there are many other examples like that. So in Finland, always when we have a big problem and a big challenge, how do we solve that? We solve it together. And I think that already talked with many of the students during the break, and I think that we can make this happen by, again, working together. And we have now people here from many places, from Russia, from Kazakhstan, from Indonesia, from many places, Kenya, and I'm sure many countries that I didn't mention. And I think that we should work together, and all of you, you are the best experts. So when you go back to, Astana, or you go back to Petroskoi, or you go back to Nairobi, or wherever you go, of course, hopefully you only go back for your vacation, because ideally you need to find, or you will find a fantastic job here, so you will not, have to leave permanently. So yeah. So together.
She's hard,
yeah.
I told you she's
yeah,
very
that's
hard.
very good. No, that's good. But yeah.
He's a good talker. I can't keep up with that. I can tell you.
Please try.
Yeah, I guess Finland, we have the unfair advantage. We know this. It's in the international newspapers, at least the ones I read, on an almost monthly basis. So it's how to get that message across in a more productified way. And I think in relation to that, some kind of cross-educational governance for marketing might help. So there's a more joined-up approach to what we're presenting to the outside world in terms of real educational export opportunities. So something like that.
Thank you, Nick.
Well, I believe that at least a good start would be to bring 150,000 students to study. That's something, and there was already good examples that how to do it, but also one question is why to do it. And well, of course, it's a good business. It could be the biggest export industry in whole Finland if we want it to be. It's about the attitude. And as a small nation, I think that should be our contribution for the world. We are education. Finland is education. It's also a name of our company. To keep it short, that's
amazing coincidence.
Thank you, Harvey. Thank you.
Yeah, all excellent points. I would only just want to add one quality that we really need to focus on, and that's courage. We really need to have the courage to, take the position of the leading education nation in the world, and to bravely go and seek for different opportunities. This market it's very peculiar in many ways, and it operates on different kinds of logics than very traditional export business does. And so that's why it requires even more courage. And I know that many teachers, at least in our city, they're not that used to flying around the world and really marketing themselves, but that's something that we need to step up and do.
Thank you, Maggie. And now, Sauri.
Yes, and I would like to say that we need to listen to students' opinion and experience more, because they are experiencing that every day, and they have always good ideas. And also, international companies need to be more open and don't be scared to try to get the students and actually do something. And even though Finland is #1 already, there always are things to be improved and grow. So
thank you. Then stop us? Starting from Harvey.
I think that it's...
And you can't say Social Democrats.
That's your point now. I try to be corporate. Is it already 1 minute is gone? Because of him? Because of... Okay, but I think that attitude is number one, really. And we just say that we are number one and we are not doing anything about that. And we somehow are ashamed to do the marketing, do the sales. Then we keep like this. To make a comparison with Australia and New Zealand could be very good. That let's be better than they. And what they have done differently. We had a talk I had a talk with you, Peter, and you said that New Zealand is very far away.
Yeah.
And they have done it. What they have done differently, we have to compare that and be better. But if we just feel that, okay, we want to be a little bit modest, we really stay there.
Thank you, Harry. Peter, you have 20 seconds left.
I think that the thing here is that it's a little bit like ice hockey. That until we finally won the World Championship in 1995 for the first time ever, until then it was always that, oh, we'll go there and let's see how it goes, and probably it will go not so well. But then after we won, we always go, okay, we're going to win, we're going to go for the gold. And I think that it's a little bit like here also that we need a few success stories, and then we can like get used to winning, and then we just continue doing so. But right now it's a little bit like ice hockey before we won, that we're not really doing this seriously.
Thank you, Peter. Nick?
Yeah, I guess legislation. So over the past few months, with myself and my colleague Maggie, we've been attempting to drive a more consolidated approach to education export. I'm no expert in that area, but it does seem a bit cloudy in terms of what you can and what you can't do. I think that would really help if that was clarified.
Yeah.
Good point. Thank you. Harvey?
Yeah, I think the only obstacle is ourselves. It's the attitude and building bureaucracy. So basically, we should realize that it's totally fine to have a sustainable business of education, and actually we need to have. That's the way how we can maintain the best possible education in Finland. Yeah, we shouldn't be too modest in this. That I have seen so many rankings where Finland is number one. I don't know if there's already a ranking of the most modest nation in the world. If we would want it, I think we would be saying no. But just an example that, yeah, let's believe in ourselves. And like Peter has always said, we are the best marketers in the world.
Yeah, exactly. So it's easy.
Thank you. Maggie?
Yeah, I have to agree with Nick on this, that in a short-term time phase, it really seems to be that legislation and the system is still quite strict about these things and limiting. So first of all, we need to lift those limits. And then in the long run, I have to agree again with Karita that the lack of resource might be one obstacle if we don't do this in a smart way now. And what I'm always suggesting is that we need to utilize digitalization to its most potential. And that's something that we can use to create scalable products and scalable solutions.
Before we give the word to Sauri, maybe Harry, you as a member of parliament, could say something about what could be done to the legislation.
I think that, again, it's related to attitude. And now, for example, today we had a discussion that good education be a business. And it should be not business. Somebody is saying that that's not the role of the education. That should be the role of the let's say, only public sector. And there's no role about the business in that sector. And the second point is that we are a little bit worried about the Finnish language. And talking about that, if there are more English courses, do we actually speak Finnish anymore? And somebody are very worried about that, and I don't think so at all. But these are the attitudes actually, what are the behind of the legislation. But then maybe somebody just do it and then say that, okay, I did it, and it was not under the law of Finland. I can support you in a way that actually somebody should do it, and then really they start to recognize also in the parliament, in the government, that this is actually a very good idea. Do it differently.
I think the trick would be here to somehow deregulate what we're doing at the moment without diluting the essence of what we have, being world class.
Just send me email, please.
What you want. But I think one thing that I mean, like with the language discussion, that I have been using this example that they're also concerned about this in Estonia, 1.3 million people, and then I've been telling them that, hey guys, you were under Soviet rule for how many years, and your language and everything survived. So now you're worried that your language will, disappear because of a few people coming to study in your country. I mean, it's really crazy, and I think that in Finland, I mean, let's not be worried about the language, because I mean we have a very rich and very light language. There's no risk that it will go away. I mean, and I really think that we should look at Estonia as an example. I mean, we're not under any kind of Soviet rule right now, and they survived that.
There is no Soviet Union now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for the time being.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then Sauri, thank you.
Yes, I think the one thing that could stop Finland is fear of risking. You never know until you try. So also the thing, if you are willing to take students and teach them in English and give education in English, you need to be ready to give them future jobs and opportunities to work. Because, for example, that for me is a problem at the moment.
Yes.
Very good answer. Thank you.
I think that in the educational world in general, we have too many people who are thriving with the lyhyet valt short, how do you call this?
Or even having the in reverse.
Thinking today, tomorrow, next month. We need at least 50% of people who would think very far, really 10 years, 15 years. And that's our challenge, I think, that we have only, a couple of people who think, oh, why don't we think a little bit farther? And then, of course, if you're alone, everybody's like, oh, okay, it's got it. It's just, I think we would need more people there, thinking big and thinking far. We are very good at doing timetables at schools, and lukujärjestys is everything, and those really excels, and that everything is in right place, in right time, but very few people thinking far.
Good. Okay, there are many interested people here. Many of them already active in this field, and then I know that there are people online too. So next question would be, what should we do together now to become or continue being number one? What should we do together? Peter?
Yeah, I think already Kalle touched on that. I really think that we need to do things together, and always had great experience and great results working with students, working with young people, and I think that that's again how we build Slush. That Slush is all built by young people. I mean, if you look at Slush in Helsinki, 2,600 volunteers from more than 60 countries, they make it happen. And now next week we have the same in Tokyo, and guess what? Hundreds of local Japanese young people are making Slush happen in Tokyo. So young people can do anything. So I think that love to work with all of you here, and then we'll figure it out. So I mean, you can be ambassadors. You can, let's see how we can, find you jobs. And one thing that I would like to put on the table, that when you get your diploma in the same envelope, guess what you will find in that envelope? The Finnish passport. So that's what I want to do. But anyway.
Thank you.
I guess it goes back to what I said earlier. So this kind of cross-governance approach. So it could be cross-city, or it could even be perhaps city to city. So that could only strengthen our approach when we're going abroad and we're promoting the capability of our learning services. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think we need to go to the world. Like, there's many people working in Education Expo or international offices, and maybe they have never visited in countries like China or India, so they don't really know how to do it. So you need to go there to understand. You need to speak the message for the public, for the customers, which is basically students or their parents. So that's something we really need to do if we are talking about like incoming students to Finland. And we should realize what needs to be done and have this kind of like program or movement and kind of on the governmental level, but in the cities and universities, and also work seamlessly with the public sector and companies. We need to have startups who are thinking big, and we need to have government who is supporting this. And yeah, young people like here act as an ambassadors, invite your friends, explain how great it is here, and get some compensation out of this as well.
Maggie.
Working for the public sector and for the city government, I can tell you that there are way too many people telling you why you can't do something than to those who are saying like go for it, there's an opportunity, or telling you how you can do it. And so what we need to do is change this attitude in very many different areas, I think, because it's not only business, it's not only the institutions, it's the government institutions, us government officials. We really need to look in the mirror and also see how can we support the entire community. And that's what I strive to do every day in my job, but we can always do a lot more.
Keep up the good work. Thank you. Sarah.
I think that we need to trust each other more, find a connection, and support each other, because some people think, as I'm a student voice ambassador, some people think that young people are like, they don't know life, elder people don't trust them, and be like, maybe we know better, but no, we have a lot of good ideas. We are also like really open-minded, and we're ready to communicate with you. I guess so. Thank you.
Yes, I really like the idea with the young students. I was just this morning, talking to somebody about the same issue, and I was saying that I really would like to have a project like Schloss, but we would give them the objective of 15,000 or 50,000, 150,000. Do whatever you want. We want to see the results. Give us the project plan.
Yes.
They would forget all the administrative, stuff. This I can't questions. They would forget. Start from zero. Start building this 150,000 or 15,000, whatever number. But we would get an answer from them. And let's forget us.
Yeah, very good.
Start from Tank.
Yeah.
Yes, but really use this young minds. I think we are already too old.
Very good.
Yes.
Good idea.
Good. So let's start a company here this afternoon. That's you youngsters, you start a new company, and the idea is that you create a new slush of education here in Tampere.
Exactly.
And just decided to do that. And we are sure that we are going to support, and we maybe you could be a shareholder. But actually, we should do something very concrete, and that might be that if that is the result of this afternoon, that we decide that we create a slush of education here in Tampere, and we decide that let's have a 15,000 students within next 5 years.
5 years is good.
That's a good timetable, and then we will do all our best in the government also, that let's decide that when you finish your master's degree, you have a working permission here in Finland, and that's automatic.
Passport, actually.
And okay, next year. Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. It's really starting to get concrete now. The next next question, talking about public sector, and it's Nick's turn to answer first. Very short answer to this one. Should or could education export be a business for public sector?
Yes, is the short answer. The longer one is, as I mentioned earlier, providing it doesn't dilute the essence of what we have. So that's a balancing act, I think. So yes, you can make it a business, but it needs to almost be a side business. So the real thing is the education itself and the quality of that, so to make sure that that remains at a desired level while we also create this other opportunity, I would suggest.
Thank you.
Obviously, yes, and in many other countries in the world it is, and maybe, for example, tuition fees are a primary source of income for universities, and I don't know why it wouldn't work also here as a way universities are able to maintain, and also other institutions of education are able to maintain good quality. Of course, I don't know, we need to change the whole societies if money doesn't run the world anymore. At the moment, I don't have the idea. Yes.
Thank you. Maggie?
Yes, but I have to say that it needs to be a business that's in a part of an ecosystem with other really private companies and different actors. So I believe this network idea, and some of these institutions are too big to be truly agile, but they can then work together with smaller, more agile companies. And so this kind of alliance model is perfect, I think, in education export.
Thank you.
Should or shouldn't, I think it already is a business, and the only thing is that main goal shouldn't be the money, main goal should be the nation and the future, so I think concentrate on that.
Thank you. That's a good example of a short answer. It's Karita's turn now to try.
I think we should a little bit redefine the word business in this area. We don't mean business. We just have to cover our cost. And I will tell you an example very shortly. I had two engineers from the technical university interviewing me, and then we start talking about the fees paid. Should somebody pay fees? And they said absolutely not. This is going to, ruin our free education. I say that I think you are also paying. No, we are not. We are from Finland. I said that, yes, you are. Your mother and father has paid everything by the taxes. This is not free. This is absolutely the wrong idea of having a free education. It's not. I've paid already. I've already paid the neighbors' kids' education also, which is good. And I like that. But everybody pays. That's fair.
Yes.
Just,
okay.
No comments. Okay, so.
Yeah, of course, and I think that also one reason why it's important is that by having universities and the other schools getting and making money through the tuition fees, it makes them more independent, and it's actually one way to also protect democracy, and that's we don't want. If you look at Hungary and we look at Poland and some of these that are even within the EU, we have some challenges, and I think that if you have independent universities, they will also act as a guardian of democracy and everything. If we at some point end up with crazy governments, that you never know, because it might happen. So I think it's that's another reason why we need to have more independent universities.
Just a very short comment that it's a feeling in this society at the moment that maybe public sector is good and private sector is bad, and that's the very challenging situation, that the feeling is like that, but we really should work together, and maybe at first it might be public and then the second time it's private.
Thank you. I'll shorten the next question a little, as we already talked about concrete steps. What are you going to do concretely about this next? One thing that you are going to do, one concrete thing, starting from Harri.
Working together with the universities and University of Applied Sciences, help them in what they are at the best, what is the student recruitment and helping students when they arrive in Finland.
Maybe you could fit in the vocational education too. So.
Yeah, it's also about the legislation, like as mentioned, we need to be sustainable business.
I know. Yeah. Okay, Maggie.
I'm currently working quite a lot with our own municipality in the basic education and kindergarten system, daycare system, and because there's so much interest about them, all these international delegations are flooding into the schools and the kindergartens, and they're a bit lost about what to do. And so now I'm working with them to try to find sustainable models and also to find new ways to engage the international community in the everyday life of the kindergarten.
Thank you.
Not a small thing, but it's something.
Small but concrete, because there are no big things. There are only small things which add to the big thing. Thank you.
And tomorrow we're traveling to Kenya to talk about Finnish education there.
Well, that's bigger. Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
Some concrete steps that we as students could do. I think we could create our own community where we can make our ideas and contact the people who can make them like true and to whom we can tell our opinions. So that's our goal at the moment.
That's a good one too. I'm sure everybody here in the panel would be very, very interested to hear your ideas. What's your future?
Yes, traveling tomorrow 6 p.m. to Nairobi, so that's very concrete, and nobody's getting us from here, so we have to travel. We have to leave at the airports. That's very concrete things. It's not convenient, and it's very tiring sometimes, but that's your job if you want to do this.
Thank you.
Let's make a working permission to all foreign students who have done the master's degree here in Finland and after a few months Finnish passport.
That's concrete. Is going to do that next. Peter.
Yeah, I'll continue what I'm already doing. So tomorrow after Shanghai, and then end of the week I'm in Tokyo, and I'll be talking to a lot of students there as well. So hopefully a few of them will come here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thinking about the smart city concept, so the themes within a smart city, so I'm drawing a line between those and educational products, namely in Tredu. And if we think about the smart city or the smart city concept, if you want it to be sustainable, then you really have to have that education, those learning opportunities underpinning it. So it's smart city today, tomorrow, the next generation, and so on. So then we can develop smarter, build smarter, and work smarter. And that goes back to what you said, Karita. So if we want to look at how education can truly support the future, I think that's one very practical way to do it. So,
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Curiosity, right? You say like job opportunities to master degree students, right? But how about us, vocational?
Okay, let's add that. Yeah, that was just a starting point for the case, because in Finland at the moment, many Finnish doctors, they are going abroad. Now it's a minus 1,500 per year actually net, and we are very worried about that. Our knowledge skills are going somewhere, but then if somebody else are coming here and studying in here, and then we are not ready to take them here in this society, that's amazing. So we have to change the policy of that ideology.
Can I ask, but do you know why are they leaving? Like, what's the reason?
Of course, young people are more and more international all the time, and that is actually very good that they're leaving, but of course we are worried, are they coming back? But then, secondly, I think that it's related to salary, it's related to working opportunities, and going to California, for example, it's 3-4 times higher salary than in here, and so that might be the reason. Taxation, and there are plenty of different kind of reasons. But of course, they have a very interesting jobs over there, and we have to create a society what is so interesting, and the jobs which are so interesting that they stay here, and it's actually good that they also go maybe a year, 2 or 5 years to some other countries, but they come back. That's important.
But I think that we actually want a lot more Finnish young people going outside, and then I'm actually not too worried about all of them coming back. I think many will come back, and especially when you like start a family and get kids, because it's a pretty good place to be here and get best education, and it's safe and kids have a life. So I think that's we don't need to worry about that like too much. But then what we need to worry about is again that do we have other people coming? And I think that over the next 10 years we need 1 million more Finnish people, and that means that we'll have a bit more immigration than what we have currently and what we're used to. But again, I mean, if you look at 1 million in 10 years, it's not like a massive number. It's just like a report that Germany is looking at 260,000 new people every year, all the way to 2060, and that's just to cover like what they need. So I think that in Finland people haven't realized how bad the situation is, and we will need a lot more immigration than we are used to, and it's just something that people will kind of wake up to the reality at some point. But we're not quite there yet, but give it a year or two and people are, they will understand. So it's just like question time.
2 words. I did it already, but actually we had a talk with the Prime Minister of Sweden, former Prime Minister of Sweden, Fredrik Reinfeldt, and now they have 10.2 million people in Sweden, and just a few years ago they had 8.9 million. And it's related to immigration, and also they have done a much better figures of economy in Sweden, and that's mainly that they allowed people to come, new innovative people to come, and for example Stockholm is a very interesting city nowadays because it's so multinational. We have to accept that kind of reality, and that's nice. We have to think about that's a positive thing.
And soon, like Tampere will be only 37 minutes away from Helsinki. So
oh yes.
So let's get it better. And then
each other at 5 in
and another 20 minutes and you're in Tallinn. So like, what could be better than that?
Now we don't have 37 minutes anymore. So I guess if everybody has said their lines about this now, yeah. So I would like to ask everybody to say one more finishing line or finishing sentence about education export now. So, Maggie.
Actually, I just want to encourage all of you here, the students, to keep going at it. The society will change, and there are opportunities here, and don't give up on us. So please, we need you here.
Sorry.
Yes, I hope that all the things that we discussed today, like all the opinions, will not be just words, and they will be real actions.
Thank you.
I see education as a medicine. If we have this medicine, we should, share it and give it to everybody. Of course, not for free, but this is good medicine.
A couple of years ago, I had a colleague. We found one company called Rapid Action Group, and as the slogan of that company is "Let's did it." So actually, have you found your company already? Education Slash. That's interesting, really. Let's just decide together to do this kind of event in here. That might be very interesting.
Yeah, and I would actually continue that we actually want all of you to stay here, and if there are any problems from the government or the public side, let me know and I'll deal with it personally.
can help you.
That's a promise.
Remember that.
Yeah, a long time ago I did an apprenticeship, and that was combined with vocational education, and it was a great success for me, so I'm a real believer in vocational education, so I'm really happy to see you guys here today helping out Smart City work, so thank you.
I went to study abroad in 2005, and that's how I came up with the idea of establishing my own company, become an entrepreneur. So basically, I wanted to work in education. Without that, I would have never met my wife or her with her husband. So it changed my life. Starting with learn, you young people here, don't stop once you graduate. It's lifelong learning.
Thank you. Great positive finishing lines. Let's give a big applause to really appreciate your time. We know you all are very, very busy people, and you came to us. Thank you for the students for arranging this, and of course thank you for teacher Kirsi for all the arrangements, and thank you for the audience online too. I know this was streamed, and you can come back to this later too. There were many, many good ideas to pick here. I wish everybody a good weekend. Maybe, if you wish, just a couple of short questions. Or did you already ask everything that you
I
wanted?
have one. Okay. What is the date for this education show? Let's have it concrete. We are in.
I'm in.
Yes. I think Tom is in.
It's in Tampere.
Yeah.
In Tampere.
Yes.
Can you borrow the name Slash?
No, I think that you need to do your own thing there.
I have a concrete suggestion. In TAF we have an innovation week in the fall. I don't remember the month, September, October. Whole week, all the students are innovating. That could be one place where we could start, giving them this, that everybody could join, and giving them this task, and they would have 1 week time to innovate. It's a possibility.
And we would have all the students and all the...
That's a good start, at least.
Yeah.
But the big classes, of course.
It's getting more and more concrete now.
Yes. Good.
And I know very well Tampere trade fairs, so we can also call them that maybe the following year we are already in Tampere.
Yeah. And after that, you can do ice hockey arena.
Oh yes. Okay.
Students, you can see your
Decided.
future getting closer and closer now.
So I think this is a good point. This seminar, this panel, and let's go concrete now. I think that we contact all of you, our students will do that, and we start with the cooperation, and let's chase the dreams and make Finland and Tampere for #1 in education export. Also in education export. Okay.
For a short time I thought you were going to say, well, let's make us great again.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was also worried about that.
I could see it coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the
So, I know that Peter and Harry are busy, but 5 o'clock you have the next panel seminar. The Henna Virkkunen is going to be there too. So if you want to know more about this 37 minutes train between Tampere, Helsinki, Tampere, so ask them.
Thank you.
Let's meet
Have a nice weekend.
Yes.
Hey, can we take a
Yes.
photo?
Yes, please.
Last photo, yeah.
With the students.
Maybe we ask our...
You can come. Good, come on.
Everybody, come on in here. Everybody, come on. More people.
Mario, come on.
Which camera?
Don't be a Finn.
Okay. One more is coming.
Come on, say something.
Давай мне пирожное, во что я не могу ничего сказать.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Я успел. Я тебе слово, но
Education is
Yeah, we should do that.